This is Charm's Canadian Love Map, the show that uncovers incredible Canadian love stories.
Tell people you love them. If we all amplify the love that we have, we can really change the world around them.
I love love.
Hi, I'm Nancy Regan, your host. And thanks to Charm Diamond Centers, we've spent nearly 10 seasons sharing the stories that shape us. This season, we're digging even deeper, chasing the spark behind every connection. The unexpected reunions, the little moments, and the bold leaps of faith.
In order to have world peace, or even a thought of it, we all have to work together.
You know, I've been very fortunate in the early years to go on a lot of wish experiences. And there was one wish experience where we went to Sable Island, and this woman had a walker going into, the airport where we were taking off. And by the end of that experience and getting out of the airplane, she was standing so straight, and she was able to get to her car without the walker.
Hey everybody, Nancy here. Today's love story comes from someone who believes that love does not have an age limit. Katie is the co-founder of We Are Young, a charity that has spent the last 10 years granting experience-based wishes to seniors across Canada. From reconnecting someone with a long-lost passion to reuniting loved ones, to helping a 90-year-old go skydiving. Her work is all about reminding people what seniors are still capable of. We're exploring love for community, love for lived experience, and love for making sure no one else feels forgotten today. Hi, Katie. Welcome to the Canadian Love Map.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to talk to you about this labor of love of yours.
Yeah, it's been 10 years in the making, and we have so much to share with where we've been and where we're going.
What inspired this idea? How did it get started?
That's a great question, and I will try and make a long story short. Being in my teens and growing up with grandparents, I really only knew one way in which seniors were cared for and supported, and it was a way that I witnessed. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was nominated through a Facebook challenge to do an act of kindness for anyone in my community. It was more of a pay it forward to someone who deserves recognition. And within that same week of being nominated, I had just met a senior at a new job I started, and I saw her bring in baked goods to the staff. I saw her a couple of days later volunteering at a homeless shelter. And not only was she doing very selfless things for other people, but she just had this energy about her that drew me in. And I really wanted to get to know her more. And so being nominated to do this act of kindness kind of gave me that push to ask a complete stranger to hang out with me. And without hesitation, she agreed. And we got our nails done that day. We went grocery shopping. And through that experience, I learned a lot about her life. And I learned about her hardships, her sacrifices. I learned that that was the first day in years that someone made a day about her. I learned that that was the first time ever that she got her nails painted. And it was kind of a punch to the gut in the sense that my perception on how I thought seniors were cared for and supported wasn't necessarily reality. And I would say that I've lived a life of adventure and, growing up in a household where I was encouraged to dream and step outside my comfort zone and do the things that I wanted to do in life. And with this kind of history of my life in my early 20s, I asked a bigger question when I spent that time with Eleanor. Not only is this generation, filled with seniors who may be isolated and lonely, but how many of them made so many sacrifices for paving the path that we have today that they never prioritized their dreams and aspirations. They never had the financial means, the time, because they were committed to their families and their communities. And now, could it be that in your 70s, 80s, and 90s, are there seniors out there who do have unfulfilled dreams and aspirations that they don't care to talk about because they don't want to be a bother? And it turns out, Nancy, through 10 years of being a part of this organization, that there are countless seniors out there who want to see their wishes come to fruition. And we're really proud that we've made almost 100 seniors' wishes come to life.
I'm kind of gobsmacked by you. I just think that is the most beautiful story. It almost brings me to tears. And I realize that it is as much about connection as it is about wishes. So you're doing something actively for them that is an act of kindness, but you're also giving them a sense of connection and community at a time when that has dwindled for them.
Definitely. And I think, you evolve as you grow, and our organization has definitely evolved over the last 10 years. And although our initial response was, let's fulfill wishes to seniors, we didn't realize the impact that it would create, Nancy, on such a fundamental level that goes beyond the experience itself. The mental and physical enhancements that we've experienced from our wish recipients is quite profound. And not only that, but we've realized that our storytelling, being on podcasts or showcasing our wishes via video or photos and putting it out into the world, really puts into other people's perspective a shift in the way that they view seniors. And it kind of challenges them indirectly of how they're showing up for this generation. And it's been really wonderful to get feedback from our audience of how we've encouraged people to step up and support our aging population more than they ever have before.
Well, it's like you're planting seeds all over the place.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Because people go, hey, there's a path there. Yeah, what a great idea.
Yeah.
And off I go to help a senior.
Definitely.
How did you go from recognizing the sort of need, the deficit, and wanting to make a contribution to forming this concept of it being about wishes?
I would say, there's many people who are trying to support seniors in different ways across Canada. I personally have always liked to think outside the box. It's what fills your cup up, what gives you moments of joy, and it's doing things that you've always dreamt of. And so for me, with this idea, I think it really just put into perspective that, we could put a Band-Aid on the problem, but why don't we find a solution? And instead of putting every senior in one box, why can't we make each of their own box uniquely customized to themselves? And I feel like our team really honed in on something special and innovative that doesn't really exist across Canada. And it's something that we don't want to deviate from because we know it's working. And although we've loved to grant thousands of wishes a year, we know that one wish indirectly impacting one senior can have that ripple effect on not just people changing their perception on seniors, but how seniors are changing the perception on themselves. And that's even more powerful.
Yeah. Wow. And at what point did you decide it would be experience-based wishes? Was it that from the beginning?
Yeah, I think, this is pretty cliche to say, but money doesn't buy happiness. Things don't buy happiness. And I think we're dealing with a generation who, when you're younger, it's different. Kids like toys and they, it's growing up and their experiences are different from adults. But I think, seniors are very wise. As you get older, you become wiser. And I think the one thing that a lot of people cherish as they get older is love, connection, support, community. And you can't buy that. So for us, it made the most sense to just be very niche with experiences, knowing that it's going to go a much longer way for the senior itself. Now, I will preface by saying, if a senior always wanted to, let's just say, drive a Ferrari, we don't need to buy a Ferrari to get them in the seat of a Ferrari. Not saying, I don't know if we can grant that wish. I'm not sure.
I'm sure we can find a Ferrari.
Yeah, we can figure it out. But you know what I mean, right? So we try and work with the seniors and give them the experience of something that doesn't necessarily need to be purchased in order to make happen. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it would be an easy ask whether it's a Ferrari or a giraffe, for that matter, just because of the beauty behind the idea.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people would be keen to climb on board your train.
Yeah. Anytime that we have wishes, our biggest costs are, let's say, flights and accommodations. But if we can get the senior to said location, it's very magical when the community, without they don't skip a beat. It's like, absolutely, what can I do? What can I do to elevate this experience? We had one wish. I don't know if you want me to start sharing.
You took the words out of my mouth by answering the question I didn't even get to ask.
Okay.
I was going to say, tell me about some wishes.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot, but this one that came to mind right now based on our conversation, this one woman, she was a single mom of 2, and she loved horses growing up. Horses were her safe haven. She would walk miles to go see the closest horse farm just so she could watch them. And her obsession never wavered, but her priorities with her children didn't allot her all the time in the world or all the resources in the world. And she actually owned a horse and had to sell it in order to care for her family. So she also actually worked at a horse farm for those who were disabled. She just worked at therapeutic horse farms most of her life. And what was so tragic, and what is tragic about some of the wish recipients that we see, is sometimes life can just be very unfair. And she ended up having a massive stroke that she lost the left side of her body. She became wheelchair bound, and she never thought she was going to get back on a horse again. And it took the light out of her, her daughter would say. And this happened probably 8 years ago, and she's in her 70s now, and never did she think she would get back on a horse. And her daughter heard about her organization. She just submitted a wish with hope and a prayer that maybe something could happen. And sure enough, we did find a horse farm who was able to cater to her needs, and we were able to get her back on the horse again, riding around the stable. And it gave her life again, as she would say it.
It's like it relit her fire.
Yeah. And working with community members to make that happen, it doesn't just affect the senior, it has deep impact on those who are helping our organization make wishes come true too.
I always think that so many people in this world want to be rich, and they think if they could only be rich, they would have all their problems solved. And what we really as human beings need is to be enriched. And when you have an experience like that, as you do all the time, where you are able to facilitate someone having a really meaningful, even life-changing experience, that's like, oh, this is what lights me up. This is, it's contributing. It's helping others.
How do you have a bad day?
How do you have a bad day?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you talked about submitting a wish. Her daughter submitted a wish. I would love you to tell me about the application process, because people are nominated. Is that right?
Yeah. For the most part, seniors get their wishes fulfilled because people in their circle or network hear about our organization and put an application forward. I would preface by saying that if a senior is listening to this podcast, they are more than welcome to nominate themselves. And the process is pretty streamlined. It is through our website, so the application can be found online. If there's ever any trouble navigating that, or if a senior needs us to fill it out on their behalf, we do telephone.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they can call us and we'd be happy to fill out the application for them. Or answer any questions that they have. And we just ask a series of questions. And, we'd love to grant every senior's wish. Of course, we are a charity, so we need to ensure that, it's not something that is going to the moon or things that are within our reach. It has to be experience-based wish. The senior must be 7 years of age, living within the province that we serve. There needs to be meaning behind the experience, and we'd like to understand how this wish could really impact them further into their lives. And so those are the things that we really look for when we are reviewing applications. And from there, it gets in the hands of our wish coordinator, Marie Bacabella, and she will set up an interview and kind of talk more through the experience. And if it's a right fit, we really try our best, and I think we do a really good job at it. I think Marie does a really good job at it, customizing these experiences where seniors are very comfortable getting outside their comfort zone and doing something they've never done before or doing something they haven't done in a very long time.
And I can see that it would really reframe for people, and in particular seniors, how capable they are instead of how dwindling their capabilities are.
It's I've been very fortunate in the early years to go on a lot of wish experiences. And there was one wish experience where we went to Sable Island, and this woman had a walker going into the airport where we were taking off. And by the end of that experience and getting out of the airplane, she was standing so straight, and she was able to get to her car without the walker. She felt physically bodied, capable of carrying herself, because I really do think experiences can impact you, not just psychologically, but physically. It's pretty remarkable to see that happen and witness it firsthand. And I know that this drives a lot of our seniors to feel more confident and feel more social and not be afraid to ask for more help, because that's also part of the barrier. If you as a society put seniors in a box where we make them feel as if they're a burden or incapable, we start as seniors, they start believing it themselves. And so again, it just continually goes back to changing that perception and making seniors feel like they are not a burden, but a valuable asset to Canadian as a whole, and a generation who's gotten us to where we are today.
When you talk about your wish recipient who went to Sable Island, I think about that concept of lighting people up and almost like plugging them into an electrical outlet. Like you energized her,
Yes.
literally.
Yeah.
And she probably felt 15 years younger at the end of the day.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. It was that pep in her step and just totally changed her mood going forward. Absolutely. Yeah.
We, on this podcast, we talk so much about stories related to connection, and I believe it's a fundamental human need. I was really impacted even before the pandemic when the UK created a Ministry of Loneliness.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it was really a sign to the world. In fact, a lot of people made fun of it. Late night hosts, had great fodder because of it and so on. But it was because the UK was recognizing there was an economic impact to loneliness, whether it was depression, it was seniors. It's so many reasons that there was this epidemic of loneliness. And I think that is so often the case in people who have been sort of pushed off to the sidelines because they're not actively in a work environment and they're not, they're not raising children anymore. They're in that third act and maybe near the latter part of the third act of their life. So I just think you're giving them such an incredible gift, and you give us all an incredible gift by just even giving us the idea. This is a pay it forward kind of idea if I ever heard one.
Yeah, and to touch on that, what I think is interesting is I feel like my generation, and maybe a little bit older than me and younger than me, they're not thinking about getting older. I've heard this many times that it's a privilege to age. And I think what I feel so fortunate for in this work is being reminded that I am not going to be in this body forever. And that, hopefully I do make it to my 80s and 90s. But also I want to see a world where we're shifting our ways, especially in Canadian culture. And I want to arrive at a place where I still feel loved and appreciated and connectedness. So, if those who are listening can't get there with the current seniors who are a part of our community now, I challenge people to look inwards and ask themselves, where do they want to see themselves fit when they get older? Because if we don't make changes, we're going to find ourselves in the exact same situation where we're not supported in a way that we should be. And I love driving home that message because we feel like age is so far out of reach for us. But as the years go by, time is a theft and it goes quick. And if we don't make those changes, they're not going to happen.
Someday, Katie, you will have wrinkles and gray hair like me. Although I like to think of it as sort of silver. This podcast is made possible by the support of Charm Diamond Centers. As a proudly Canadian-owned company, they care deeply about shining a light on love. I'd love you to tell me about the range of wishes that you grant.
Yeah. So great question, because a lot of people wonder, well, what are experiences for seniors? And, what do you mean by that? And most of our wishes actually fall into 3 different categories. One is reconnecting with loved ones. There are many seniors due to distance that they haven't seen a sibling in a couple decades, or they haven't met their grandchildren yet because cost of travel is expensive. And, for us, being able to be that conduit and connect loved ones and allow grandparents to meet their grandchildren for the very first time is really special. And so that's what we mean by reconnecting with loved ones. It could be friendships or it could be family. The other type of wish we grant is reliving a hobby. So many seniors had things that really lit them up in their younger years and have become vivid memories and have been experiences that they would love to get back to, but for some reason feel like there's a barrier, whether it's a physical limitation or not having the right contacts to be able to make it happen. And, we love stepping in to make the impossible possible. And, one example was a gentleman who in his teen years always worked on a farm with Clydesdale horses. And he loved working with Clydesdale horses, and he really wanted to experience that all over again, but he doesn't know of a farm that has Clydesdale horses. He wouldn't even know how to navigate that, and nor should he. But that's what we do best. We're innovative. We think of ways to pivot and work around situations and just make a bunch of phone calls. And for us, we were really lucky to connect him with a farm that was less than 30 minutes away from his house
You're
at Clydesdale.
kidding.
Yes. And now they've befriended each other, and he's invited back to that farm anytime that he wants.
My heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So, and there's so many more stories like that, but reconnecting seniors with hobbies that they once loved is a really one that we enjoy doing as well. And then the one that's the most popular is fulfilling a lifelong dream. So, for example, a lot of seniors love sporting events, whether it's an NHL game or watching the Blue Jays play ball. We've made a lot of those wishes happen. And yeah, I hope that kind of puts into perspective for viewers or more of an understanding of what these experiences look like. There's so many of them, Nancy. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. Some are very different. Like we've had a woman since she was 5 years old. She always wanted to drive on a Zamboni.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. And we've had seniors who've always wanted to ride on the top of 18-wheeler trucks. I kid you not. Like it's really cool to hear these stories and things that you would never expect to come true. And this one woman who always wanted to ride on a Zamboni, she tucked away that dream. And the reason being is because she was told at a young age that is for boys, that hockey is for boys, that riding on a Zamboni is for boys. And that's something she should never really dream for herself. And it wasn't until she was in her late 70s that a woman next to her, they were both at their grandkids' hockey game. The Zamboni comes on, and she quietly said, unknowingly, that this woman knew about our organization, said, it's always been a dream of mine to get on that.
Oh my God.
And this woman was like, well, actually, I know how to make this come true.
That's amazing.
And she submitted an application. And sure enough, in one of the periods at a local Mooseheads game, she came out as proud as punch, Colleen, on that Zamboni. I was there. I'll never forget it. And with tears in her eyes when she got off, she looked up and she said, I hope my parents are watching. That's all it took. And that's how impactful it was. And so, yeah, I really encourage anyone who's listening and not to move on, but I think it's really important that you ask the question to a senior. You don't just assume that, because they're older, that they've already automatically done the things that they've wanted to in life. I think a lot of people who might not have a close relationship with seniors don't necessarily know how to start a conversation because an age gap can be a little scary. What do we talk about?
It's funny, I have a book called My Life and Times, which is filled with questions you can ask seniors, or they can fill out the book themselves. And I sometimes do legacy interviews with seniors, which I just love so much because they have so many stories to tell. And those stories need to be carried on for other generations. But even these days, you could ask AI, what are some great ideas for questions I can ask? And this is an aside, but I love that you've picked up on that idea of really making them feel valued by asking about their life.
Absolutely. And I think that is the take home. And I think, the reason why we are able to grant the wishes we do is because people have taken the time to pick up the phone or to pay a visit and ask a senior in their life, is there anything that you've wanted to do and haven't done it yet? A lot of seniors might not submit an application because they don't want to be a burden. Mm-hmm. But they're more susceptible to having their wish fulfilled when they've been nominated to experience it from what we've found. So if anyone is listening, if anyone has never asked their parent, grandparent, any senior who is over the age of 70, even, younger than that, what is something you've always wanted to do? One, you'll be surprised of what that answer could be. And two, sometimes we don't even need to intervene to make that wish happen. Sometimes it's a trip to their favorite beach that they haven't seen in decades. Sometimes it's a visit to a host that they grew up in, but they can't get in the car and drive there themselves. It can be that little. but that impactful.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this question, even though I feel the answer in your passion, in your energy with which you are conversing with me right now. I love witnessing in this world businesses that are business, but also contribute in a really meaningful way. And there's this intersection that's a sweet spot in my view, where sure you're creating work for yourself and others, but you're also changing the world somehow. How does this really feed your soul?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
Sorry. It's because it really does.
Yeah, I would say, without getting too crackly, I would say you really touched on it earlier. And, I had no idea when I was in my 20s with Kara and our team what the heck we were getting ourselves into, to be quite honest. And what stemmed from it, a lot of people are building businesses or they're, getting up the corporate ladder to higher positions. And Kara and I, at that time were 21, 22, just flying by the seat of our pants. And
Amazing.
10 years later, to be able to look back and actually understand what's kept us going is knowing that I feel I am so rich in life from these experiences that take me not just within my work, but take me into my everyday, that it makes me very present and understanding that life is short. And I think if I were to sum this up in a bow, it's given me a gift that I never thought I would experience. And it's helped me understand the world in ways that sometimes people only figure out when it's too late.
Whew, that's some people call them goosebump. I call them truth bump. That's truth bump inducing. Like I've got chills. And that's what it's all about. What is your goal? Going forward, where are you going with this?
We like to think big. We like to build strategically and make sure that we don't put the cart before the horse. But we've always talked about getting across Canada and what that looks like and when that will happen. I think that's in our near future. The charitable sector is a hard one in and of itself. But I'm really proud that we've made it 10 years and we've done it thoughtfully and we've stayed true to who we are and our values. And I think we have a really amazing team that's going to help carry us into this next decade where we are a household name, where people look at a senior and are reminded of us in our broader narrative of asking the hard questions. How are we showing up for this generation? And how are we building a future so that no senior, including ourselves when we get to that age, are left behind? That's our big ambitious goal for the future.
Love it. Mic drop. Thank you so, so much for taking the time away from wishes to come and tell us about the beautiful work you're doing.
Thank you, Nancy. I love being on platforms that care enough to share our message and believe in what we do. So I'm happy to be here.
I give you a gold medal for this amazing idea and the execution of this business. And I wish you the best in the future. And I hope that everyone will look up We Are Young. What's your website?
Sorry.
I'm making her cry.
Yeah. It's weareyoung.ca.
All right.
Yeah.
Really, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
I think your eyes are filled with tears because I'm reflecting back to you how amazing you are. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks so much for listening. If you have loved this episode, then why not subscribe, rate, and review Charm's Canadian Love Map? Do you have a love story that you're dying to share, yours or someone else's? Reach out to us at Canadian Love Map on Instagram or Facebook. We'd love to hear your story.